Hello and welcome. I'm Katrina Pratt Roebuck, and I'm the founder and CEO of Uplifme. Uplifme is a national resource hub that provides information on social service events happening across the country that address the social determinants of health. We also highlight the wonderful organizations right here in Philadelphia. So today I have the honor and privilege of meeting with Sharmain Matlock-Turner, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the Urban Affairs Coalition. Sharmain, welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Katrina, thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this and to all the great work that you're doing, really letting people know how important the work is that those of us who are in the nonprofit sector and those who are working in healthcare really do to make the world a better place.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's get right into it. So can you talk a bit about what the Urban Affairs Coalition does and who you serve?
Right. The Urban Affairs Coalition was founded in 1968 and incorporated in 1969. And it really was an outgrowth of the unfortunate and tragic assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. And so community leaders, government, business and civic leaders came together to say, what can we do? How can we respond to this? I mean, as you can imagine, at that time, people were angry. They had just given up hope. They were completely just, you know, pained. And yet there were people who said, we're not giving up and we're not giving in. And so that was really the birth of the Urban Affairs Coalition, which was really the idea that if you bring together government, business, and community and individuals to really work on community problems, you can really make a difference. And the community can see that there is hope and that there is opportunities when we work effectively together. And so out of that grew what is now known as the Urban Affairs Coalition, which is a home for nonprofits. It's a place to connect, convene, and collaborate as to how do we continue to solve problems in our community.
So that's wonderful. And thank you for sharing the backstory. I think that that's very important for context about how the Urban Affairs Coalition has played such an integral part of the history of Philadelphia. So can you talk a bit about the organizations that Urban Affairs supports?
Yes. Well, we are a part of a partnership. We have over 80 programs and partners that are part of the coalition. And one of the things that have always been excited about is that we have been able to be a place where people can come, sometimes when they aren't always accepted in other parts of the community. So though we have done a really terrific job in the African American community, making sure that there was a place and a home for people who had ideas. I mean, we always kind of said, as I remember when I was an organizer in communities, that we have really great ideas, but then we have to turn the work over to someone else. But there are people in communities who say, I know not only what the problem is or what the challenge is, I know how to work on that. What am I lacking? Resources in order to ultimately make that vision work. And so what the coalition did was say, okay, here's a home for you. You want to work on things in communities? We can figure out, okay, what kind of insurance do you need? What are all the human resources, rules, and regulations in order to hire people? How do you effectively manage government contracts, which are a pay-for-service system, as opposed to a system where usually with grants, you're given the money and then you are to report on it. Government contracts, most of the time, you've got to deliver the services and then bill for those services. So we created a place and a space for community groups and organizations to do that. But also as other issues have come forward, we've been a home for that too. As we dealt with the AIDS epidemic in the 80s, and people were trying to, again, divide us around that issue. It's them, not us kind of question. We became a home for LGBTQ organizations that were specifically working on AIDS and AIDS-related activities, including those in the Asian community, the African American community, and also the Latino community. So we've always tried to be a home and a place and to be on the cutting edge of what is really needed in our community and how can we open things up in a way that ultimately we're not, again, sort of trying to divide ourselves against we and them and us and they.
So I really appreciate you sharing that, because to be an organization that brings people together, I think was not something that I was aware of that was intentional. I knew that the Urban Affairs Coalition provided technical assistance to organizations and really helps organizations be able to do their work. But I really appreciate that additional intentionality around creating community within the Urban Affairs Coalition. Can you talk a little bit, and you mentioned the LGBTQ community and thinking about some of the work that they've done over the years. Can you talk a little bit about some of the other types of organizations in terms of the type of work, just to understand sort of the scope of services that the Urban Affairs Coalition helps organizations to be able to implement?
Right, absolutely. I could just go around the community-based organizations who are just doing absolutely terrific work. But we've also been a place to sort of take really important ideas and then bring partnerships around those ideas. So
Okay.
one of our founder, Charles Bowser,
Mhm.
who was just such a phenomenal, phenomenal man, one of his real commitments was to say, we must make sure we're creating opportunities for the next generation. So he was absolutely committed to summer jobs.
Okay.
And I am proud to say that over the 55 years of the coalition, we have remained committed to that. There used to
Mhm.
be a lot more federal funding for that. And so we put together not only a program and initiative to make sure that we brought businesses in that were going to provide opportunities for young people and that we were supporting systems where we could bring as many young people in as possible. But we've also been an advocate for
Mhm.
making sure that the funding continues even after the federal funding. You know how funding goes. Like
Yeah.
sometimes it's like, okay, everything is like, yeah, we're for that, and then the funding goes away. Well, the kids and young people still needed those opportunities. One
Right.
of the most important things for me as a young person was a summer job. The first summer job I had was with my grandfather in Virginia, picking peaches. And the first day I was like out there and I was like, oh, this is like really cool. I can like eat these peaches.
Mhm.
And so I was like eating peaches and picking peaches, but I think I was eating a few more than I was actually picking. And
Mhm.
my grandfather said, Gal, you need to be picking more peaches than you're eating. And that was just such a great lesson to me. And
Mhm.
I worked extremely, extremely hard, bought my first pair of shoes for school from my first summer job. And that gave me a sense of what it means to be really committed to what it is that you're doing and to do it in a way that really makes a difference. So, my personal story, as well as the history of the coalition, is one of the areas that we're so proud of, that we're continuing this work. So, we're really for the future, still trying to get funding that is going to be consistent, but we're going to be an advocate for young people to work every summer for as long as we can.
That's fantastic. And you've created an infrastructure really that creates a sustainable place for folks to, as you said, make UAC a home. And so the work that you've done really not only in the technical assistance, but also thinking about how to advocate and ensure that these programs continue is so important. So can you talk a little bit about the organizations and how they can connect with UAC if they are seeking to have UAC support them with fiscal sponsorship?
Yes, absolutely. We reach out and let people know. We get calls every week where someone says they have an idea. And
Mhm.
too often, what has been said in the broader community is, oh my gosh, we have too many nonprofits. And so my response is, I never heard anybody say, oh my goodness, we have too many small businesses.
Mm,
Everyone is excited about a small business when someone says, I want to try a new idea.
right.
We're excited when someone in the community says they want to try a new idea.
That's
Like
right.
we've been able to bring the banking community together around issues of making sure that they are investing fairly into communities of color. We have two young men who were graduates of Temple University who felt as if they needed to touch young children in pre-K and started going with called something Fathers Read
Mm,
and bringing men together to go out into the community, into pre-K programs, and have men read to children so that people could see men as caring and connected. They've written books, and they are part of the coalition family. We have Pennsylvania Youth Vote, which is an organization that right now is doing a lot of terrific work in making sure that young people ultimately have an opportunity to really know why elections are important, and not just about voting on election day, but really how do you continue to advocate for the things that you need. We have second generation people where we had founders
Mm-hmm.
who started organizations, and one day at a time now has Reverend Mel Wells's son,
Right,
Reverend Wells's son, Mel Wells, who's
right.
now in charge of the organization. And I'm excited to say that he's got his associate's degree from Pierce College, of which I'm on the board, and he's continuing to do terrific work. So whether it's a new idea where someone comes in and says, I want to do something important, or they want to hold an event, or they want to connect it with other people who are doing exciting things, or they want to bring collaboration together. We've got a group called the Impact Development Roundtable, where
Mm.
developers in Philadelphia wanted to come together to figure out how do we partner with the community development community, as well as the broader community around equity, as we look at how do we develop in our community. So we are here as a home for you to bring your ideas, to bring your people, and we have the structure in place to make sure that you're going to be able to launch successfully, and that you're going to be able, as we say, change the world.
That's amazing. And I think that, I really like what you said in the beginning of this answer when you said that people don't often say that there's too many small businesses, and that you're excited about nonprofits. And we know that a lot of times when people start nonprofits, they're starting from a place of experience oftentimes, and it's heartfelt, right? It's something they're deeply committed to. So I think that the encouragement that UAC can give organizations to not only start their nonprofit, but to do it well, I think is so important. Can you talk a little bit perhaps about something that folks may not know about UAC that you'd like to share?
Yes, UAC does a lot of very interesting and very exciting work in a lot of different areas. And I've talked about summer youth employment. I've talked about how we bring banks together. I've talked about some other programs and initiatives that are there. But we also collaborate and partner with others. So when the Civic Coalition to Save Lives was being formed,
Mm.
the William Penn Foundation, the Philadelphia Foundation said, we need to make sure that we have community voice as a part of this. They would started to say, there are a lot of things that we're looking at, but we're seeing gun violence escalate in cities. Can we learn more? Is there more that we can do? And so we said, yes, we definitely want to partner with you on that. And I'm excited to say that in Philadelphia, we've seen the gun violence numbers dramatically decrease because we created a public-private sector initiative. And this is a group where we meet every Wednesday morning at 7:30 a.m.
Wow.
to make sure that we're ultimately doing this work. And I know you know Estelle Richmond. We were able to bring Estelle on as executive director of this initiative, and we're really excited that we're getting ready to bring on another one. So the idea is that, yes, we do terrific work at the coalition, but we really do believe in connecting and collaborating. We've done work in the area of Black nonprofit leadership, and worked with Kelly Woodland, who used to be at the William Penn Foundation, who is now at United Way, and actually bringing together African American and leaders of color, CEOs, so that we can ultimately learn from each other, and we can ultimately support each other as we continue this very, very important work.
So that's great. And I think that, to have the collaboration be something that you are very committed to, I think tackling those macro issues to your point, has the outcomes of, for instance, decreased gun violence. And so I am aware of the work that you've done in that area, and thank you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you talk a little bit about perhaps something that you're looking forward to accomplishing in the coming year?
Yes, as we look forward to the coming year, we're always like anyone else. We do believe in structure and systems. We've been spending a lot of time making sure that our systems and our technology really work. That's not the most exciting things I know that many of us have to talk about, but that is the underpinning. Like what is AI going to mean for us? How do we make sure that the cloud really works for grassroots and community nonprofits? How do we look at the risk as we look at insurance
Mhm.
and payments? What do we need to do to make sure that people can successfully operate in this area? So the idea of looking at systems and structure
Mhm.
and how does that effectively support our communities as we do this work is absolutely critically important. We're also going to look at, are we doing enough in the investment area to make sure that we're getting dollars into communities? People are very much committed to reducing poverty
Mhm.
and really making sure that we're building people for success within the next generation. And so we're going to continue to look at that issue and see what else is it that we can do as it relates to ultimately being able to build wealth in our communities. One of the areas that we're really excited about is an initiative called Home by Now, which we shared with the governor. I had a chance to be with the governor last week as he announced his study that he's going to look at affordable housing. And Home by Now was an initiative that we designed off of a Pennsylvania University model in partnership with former Mayor Street when he was looking at issues of community development to say how could we get other employers other than just the University of Penn to partner and ultimately provide funds for people to be able to buy housing in the city of Philadelphia. And I'm happy to say that we have over 100 homeowners in the city of Philadelphia and more than 25 employers. And we'd love to be able to see this initiative go statewide.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And really to think about the model that University of Penn has put together and to be able to amplify that, to maximize on that is amazing. So I think that the work that you all do is very comprehensive and it has a broad scope. How can people support UAC? Are there opportunities to donate or to provide volunteerism? What are the ways in which folks can support UAC's work?
But my staff would be upset if I didn't say UAC.org at least 5 times. UAC.org, UAC.org. Please visit our website. We have tons of information there. We're always looking for volunteers. We have a wonderful volunteer board. I'm happy to say that Dr. Lorena Marshall Blake,
Mhm.
who is the CEO of the Independence Blue Cross Foundation,
Mhm.
is my board chair, and I could talk about all the other wonderful board members that I have. We're always looking for board members. We're always looking for volunteers. And our annual fundraiser is coming up in November. We'll be celebrating our 55th year. We'll be at the Convention Center on November 18th. So we really, really hope that you will join us and support us there. So you could make a contribution of what we say time, talent, and treasure. All of those can be very, very important to the work that we do. We don't have an endowment. We're not sitting on, a bunch of money. As I say, every year we start July 1, our fiscal year at zero. And we have to make sure that we ultimately raise money. But I'm happy to say that over the history of the coalition, we have successfully managed more than $1 billion
Wow.
in public and private support.
That's amazing. And congratulations on 55 years. That's
Thank you,
impressive.
thank you, thank you. And I'm happy to say I've been there 25 of them.
Well, I was just going to say UAC is such an important fixture in Philadelphia, as are you. And in the 25 years that I've been working, I've always held UAC in high regard and
Oh,
know
thank you.
absolutely, and know how important UAC has been to so many nonprofits. So, Charmaine, thank you so much for interviewing with me
Thank
today.
you.
And thank you for your leadership. leadership and your strong
Oh,
commitment to our communities.
I really appreciate it. And thank you so much for what you're doing, and keep going. And let me know if there's anything else I can do to be helpful to support you.
Thank you, Sharmaine. I appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. Take
Take care.
care.